Faith is not just a word we throw around in religious circles. It is the very bridge that connects what cannot be seen with what must eventually be seen. Your destiny is not something you create out of thin air. It is something that already exists in the mind and plan of God. Long before you were born, there was a blueprint for your life. Your gifts, your opportunities, your assignments, and even the people you were meant to impact are already written into that design. But here's the challenge. You can't hold that destiny in your hand yet, and you can't measure it with human eyes. It resides in the invisible realm, in that space where only belief can reach. This is why faith is so crucial, because faith acts as the bridge that brings what God already declared about you into your lived reality. Think about a bridge for a moment. A bridge connects two points that are separated by distance. Without a bridge, those 2 points remain divided. You can see where you want to go, but you cannot get there. Destiny is on the other side of your current reality. Faith is a structure that carries you over. Without it, you remain stuck where you are, constantly wishing and hoping, but never walking into the manifestation of what has been promised. Faith is not wishful thinking. It is conviction in motion. It is the assurance that what you cannot see yet is more real than what you are currently experiencing. Here's the truth. Everything you desire to accomplish, every dream God has placed in your spirit already exists. The wealth you want to create, the influence you are meant to have, the relationships you are destined to build, it all exists, but it exists in the invisible dimension. Faith is how you pull it into this dimension. Just like a seed already contains the tree, your destiny already contains the future. The seed doesn't have to go out and borrow leaves or branches. Everything is already inside it. But until that seed is placed in the soil of faith, nothing grows. Faith is the environment that allows the unseen to become seen. This is why you cannot afford to live by sight alone. Sight shows you your limitations, but faith shows you possibilities. Sight tells you what is happening right now, but faith declares what is guaranteed to happen if you trust and move. Sight will show you that the bank account is low, but faith reminds you that God is your source and that the seed you plant can multiply. Sight shows you the obstacles, but faith shows you the outcome. If you only live by what you see, you will always be trapped in the present. But if you live by faith, you begin to walk toward the future that was already written for you. Faith is not just mental agreement. It is the courage to take steps based on what you cannot yet verify with your senses. For example, Noah built the ark before there was rain. Abraham left his homeland before he knew where he was going. David declared victory over Goliath before he even swung the stone. What did they all have in common? They believed in the unseen word of God more than the seen reality of their circumstances. They walked on the bridge of faith, and in doing so, they brought the invisible into the visible. In your own life, there will be times when everything around you contradicts what God has spoken into your spirit. The evidence of your eyes will say, it's not possible. The evidence of your experience will whisper, you've failed before. The evidence of your environment may scream, nobody in your family has ever done this. But faith answers back, I am not bound by what I see. I am bound by what I believe. Faith gives you the ability to move toward a destiny that nobody else in your circle may even believe in. And here's the beauty. Once faith brings the invisible into visibility, people will call it a miracle, but you will know it was simply the natural result of walking the bridge God provided. You must also understand that faith is not a one-time event. It is a continual process. Every new level of destiny requires a new walk across the bridge of faith. Just as one bridge can take you into a city, but not in the entire country, one act of faith can move you forward, but not complete your journey. Faith must be exercised again and again because destiny unfolds in layers. Each time you believe, each time you act, each time you trust in what you cannot see, you bring another piece of your destiny into reality. Faith is also tested by time. A bridge is not proven strong when there is no weight on it. It is proven strong when there is pressure. In the same way, your faith will be proven in the seasons when it seems like nothing is happening, when the results are delayed, when the opposition increases. That is not the time to abandon the bridge. That is the time to keep walking. Faith is not just believing when it looks good. It is believing when nothing looks like it will work. It is continuing to sow when the harvest is invisible, continuing to declare when the evidence is missing, and continuing to walk when the road feels shaky. Ultimately, destiny is not about chance. It is about choice. God has already prepared it, but you must choose to walk the bridge of faith to receive it. The bridge is built, but only you can cross it. Faith is the currency of destiny. Without it, you cannot make withdrawals from the account God has already set aside for you. With it, there is no limit to what you can manifest. So remember this, your destiny is not in the distant future. It already exists in the invisible. But if you want to experience it in the visible, you must walk the bridge called faith. Every step you take in belief, every move you make in trust, every action you take in obedience brings you closer to the life you were born to live. Faith is not optional. If you want to fulfill your destiny, it is essential. And the moment you begin to truly walk in faith, the invisible becomes inevitable. Would you like me to expand the next keynote in the same style? Faith requires action, not just belief, into another 700-word section, so it feels like a continuation of a full speech. Faith has never been meant to live only in your head or your heart. It is not simply a thought you hold or an emotion you feel. Faith is movement. It is not passive, it is active. Belief without action is just mental agreement, but true faith is belief translated into behavior. When you truly believe something, it changes the way you think, the way you speak, and the way you move. You can't claim to have faith and then continue to live as though what you believe is not real. If faith is real, it requires action. Think about this. If you really believed a plane was going to take you to your destination, you would buy the ticket, walk onto the plane, and sit down without fear. You wouldn't stand in the airport talking about how much you believe in air travel while refusing to board the plane. That wouldn't be faith. That would be contradiction. In the same way, if you say you believe that God has designed a destiny for you, that he has placed a calling and a promise over your life, then your choices must line up with that belief. Faith is demonstrated in decisions. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, persistence over quitting, obedience over convenience, you are acting in faith. Action is the visible evidence of invisible belief. The book of James reminds us that faith without works is dead. That doesn't mean works create faith. It means works prove faith. Just like a body without breath is lifeless, belief without action is powerless. Many people pray for change, hope for better, and dream of success, but they never take a step toward it. They wait for the perfect timing, the perfect conditions, or the perfect opportunity, but faith doesn't wait for perfect. It moves because it trusts. Faith puts out even when the ground looks unstable. Faith starts building when there are no resources in sight. Faith makes decisions today as though tomorrow's promise is already secure. Look at the heroes of faith. Noah didn't just believe a flood was coming. He built an ark. Abraham didn't just believe God had a promised land for him. He packed up his family and left home. The woman with the issue of blood didn't just believe Jesus could heal her. She pressed through the crowd and touched his garment. Over and over again, destiny was fulfilled not because people sat and wished, but because they acted in faith. Their belief showed up in bold movement. Action also requires persistence. Faith is not proven in the moment of excitement, but in the discipline of consistency. Anybody can act when the inspiration is high and the vision feels fresh, but true faith acts when the feelings fade, when progress is slow, when obstacles multiply. Persistence is faith in motion over time. Every time you keep going after rejection, every time you keep working after failure, every time you keep sowing when the harvest hasn't come yet, you are proving that your faith is alive. Persistence separates those who just believe in theory from those who manifest in reality. Obedience is another expression of active faith. Sometimes God gives instructions that don't make sense to the natural mind. He tells you to forgive when you want revenge, to give when resources feel scarce, to step out when you feel unqualified. Faith obeys even when it doesn't fully understand, because faith trusts the one who gives the instruction. Imagine Peter when Jesus told him to cast his net on the other side of the boat after a whole night of catching nothing. Logic said it was pointless, but faith said obedience brings overflow. When Peter acted, it was a catch so large it broke the nets. That miracle didn't come from belief alone. It came from action rooted in belief. This is where many people miss their destiny. They confuse belief with faith. They believe in success, but they don't discipline themselves to prepare. They believe in breakthrough, but they don't step out of their comfort zone. They believe in divine provision, but they don't release what's in their hand to make room for what's in God's hand. Faith requires movement. It requires risk. It requires sacrifice. If you want destiny, you must be willing to put your feet where your mouth is. When you act in faith, you also give God something to bless. God multiplies what you move on. If the widow had not gathered jars, there would have been no room for the well to flow. If the Israelites had not stepped into the Jordan River, the waters would not have parted. If David had not run toward Goliath, the stone would not have found its mark. The action is the catalyst that releases the power of God into your situation. Belief opens the door, but action walks you through it. Ultimately, your destiny will not be unlocked by what you say you believe, but by what you are willing to do about what you believe. Faith without action is like a key you never turn. The potential is there, the promise is there, but the power is never released. Every decision you make today is either moving you closer to or further from the destiny you claim to believe in. The good news is even the smallest step of faith can set miracles in motion. So remember this: true faith is not passive. It is active. It makes decisions that align with destiny. It persists when the journey gets hard. It obeys even when instructions feel illogical. Faith doesn't just talk, it walks. And when you walk in faith, you don't just believe in your destiny, you begin to fulfill it. Do you want me to now expand the third keynote? Faith transforms obstacles into opportunities, into another 700-word section so the full speech feels complete. Faith has a way of flipping the script on life's challenges. What most people see as an obstacle, faith sees as an opportunity. What looks like a closed door to the natural eye, faith recognizes as a redirection towards something greater. The truth is setbacks are inevitable on the path to destiny. No matter how gifted, prepared, or focused you are, you will face situations that look like dead ends. But here's the difference: the person without faith sees the obstacle as the end, while the person of faith sees it as a setup for something bigger. Faith gives you the lens to look beyond the problem into the promise. Consider this: every great story of destiny is filled with obstacles. Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, and imprisoned unjustly. By sight, his life looked like a series of failures. But faith revealed that every setback was positioning him for his ultimate assignment: to save a nation during famine. Without the betrayal, there would have been no Egypt. Without the prison, there would have been no introduction to Pharaoh. What looked like obstacles in the natural were actually stepping stones in the supernatural. Faith took the pit and turned it into a platform. When you face obstacles, you have two choices. You can magnify the problem, or you can magnify your faith. Problems scream limitation, but faith whispers potential. Problems say, this